What's up guys? Today we're going to check out another projector from Hisense. This is the brand new PL1. So shout out to Hisense for sending this over for me to review. Thank you guys. If you guys want to pick up this projector, I will leave some links down below in this video's description, which you can pick up at our channel partner Dream Media. So let's go ahead and get this thing unboxed, see what we get inside. So right on the top, we get some gloves, little pump blower to clean out the lens with, and also another little makeup brush to clean out the lens with. There is some documentation there, power cord, remote control, and then the batteries. All right, so this actually looks a little bit better than last year's version. It's a pretty nicely sized projector. It's about 24.5 inches wide by about 17.5 inches deep, and it is about 9 inches in height. Up front, we can see that we have the Hisense logo right in front of the grill, and then there are some speakers located behind the grill. On the top, we've got your motion sensors, so if you were to wave your hand in front of it or step in front of the laser, it'll shut off the laser, which is mounted right in the center of the projector itself. And then you got the Hisense branding on the top here. So let's go ahead and swing this around back. We've got your 3.5mm audio output jack. There's another service jack as well. There's a second micro USB service jack. 2 HDMI 2.1 inputs with ALM support. There's an Ethernet jack, optical output, and then a USB input as well. And then on the bottom corner here, that is your power inlet. And then on the bottom, we have some adjustable feet. So if you want to level this on your tabletop, you can raise or lower the front half of the projector. There are 3 mounting points here, 1, 2, and 3. So if you want to pick up a ceiling mount, you could mount this on your ceiling. Specs wise, this is rated for up to 25,000 hours of lamp life. So that's a lot of TV and movie watching. It's also rated at 2,200 hours of ANSI lumens. It does run on Google TV, so it's Android compatible. It's also got AirPlay 2 support, so if you want to mirror your iPhone or iOS device to the projector, it'll do that as well. And this will project from 80 inches up to 120 inches of screen size. And as far as the DMD or the imager, this uses the TI 0.47 chip. So if you guys didn't know, this actually is a 1080p projector, but using the 0.47 chip, that will pixel shift the image so that way you can get 8.3 million pixels on screen. So you will get true 4K resolution. So let's go ahead and get this thing set up. All right, once you go through the setup, you're going to be taken to the Google TV homepage, which if you are familiar with Google TV, this looks like every Google TV before it. So it's got a very snappy interface. I don't notice any kind of lag or any jank or anything like that. So it is a really nice, snappy user interface. But let's go ahead and check out some quick settings first. I'm only going to go through the relevant settings, which is going to be under display and sound. Everything else is kind of your standard Google TV Android settings. But first option we have here is going to be picture. First option is the laser luminance. Right now I've got it at 4, but you can go anywhere from 0 up to a +10. For picture mode, we get a few different options. We've got vivid, we've got standard, energy savings, game, sports, theater day, theater night, and then film mode. We'll take a look at some of those and how they affect the picture a little bit later on. And here we've got sliders for contrast, brightness, color, tint, and sharpness. You can apply those settings to the current source input or to all sources. Smart Scene, you can turn this on and off, which will automatically adjust the picture settings, the color, the contrast, the sharpness, all on a frame-by-frame basis. Advanced settings, we've got a few different options for color temperature. We've got warm 1, warm 2, standard, and cool. Under motion enhancement, so if you want to get that soap opera effect, there's a few different options here. There's off, custom, film, clear, standard, and then smooth. If you go under custom, you can manually adjust the judder reduction and the blur reduction. Here we've got noise reduction settings. We've got off, low, medium, and then high. Same thing for digital noise reduction. We've got HDMI dynamic range. That's on auto. It's actually grayed out right now, but I would keep it on auto anyways. We've got active contrast. We've got off, low, medium, and high. Dynamic tone mapping for standard HDR content. We got filmmaker mode, auto detection, instant game response, which is grayed out because we're not playing any video games. Low blue light, which will cast a slight blue light to the overall image to keep it easier on your eyes. And then for HDMI input optimization, this will optimize for better picture quality and text clarity for HDMI 120 Hz input signals. So you can prioritize picture quality or text clarity. Next section is calibration settings. We've got color tuner. So if you have the proper tools, you can adjust the color here. We got white balance, same thing. We've got 2-point or 20-point. Gamma from 2.0 up to ST2084. Gamma calibration. We've got input level gain, and then restore gamma calibration, and then RGB only. So if you want to fine tune your RGB settings, you can choose that option there. And then the last option is reset all. Under screen, we've got a few different options here. We've got auto, we've got normal, zoom, wide, direct, panoramic, cinema, 21:9, 32:9. And then we've got overscan correction there as well. Under laser screen, we've got a few different options here. We've got front ceiling, rear, and then rear ceiling. So as I mentioned earlier in the unboxing, you can mount this on your ceiling if you wanted to. And then for screen type, we've got wide angle ALR screen, high gain ALR, and then high gain ALR screen too. Depending on the gain structure of your screen, you can select that here, and then it'll adjust the brightness, black level contrast per that particular screen. Once you choose this, you will have to actually reboot and restart the projector. Next option is the automatic geometric correction. So if you confirm this, this will automatically auto-adjust the keystone on the projector to fit your wall in case you cannot get this aligned properly. And then you can do that by scanning the QR code and then following the directions on your mobile device to get this lined up properly. And then if you want, you can automatically adjust this yourself, which is probably a little bit easier. So if you pick a specific point, so let's pick the top middle here, and then as you can see, as we drag it down, you can see how the top portion of the screen is starting to bow inwards. So you can do this for any portion of the screen here to get this perfectly lined up with either your wall or your screen. And once you get that done, you can click OK to back out of this, or if you want, you can just hit reset, and this will send everything back to normal. And then focus adjustment, you should be able to see that there is some text in the background. So by tapping up or down, you can see that it'll get blurry or it'll get sharp. So obviously you want to get the text as sharp as possible. And the good thing about having manual focus is that you can go anywhere from 80 inches to 120 inches so that the focal length on the projector is not fixed at a specific point. So it isn't fixed at only 120 inches, it's not fixed at only 100 inches. So you can go anywhere from 80 to 120 since you can adjust the focus manually. Eye protection you can turn on or off. So if you happen to pass in front of the projector, this will automatically shut off the laser so you don't accidentally blind yourself. Next section is sound. We get a few different sound presets, which we'll check out a little bit later. We've got standard, theater, sports, music, speech, late night, and then auto mode. This does support Dolby Atmos through compatible apps. So if you have this connected up to your AVR receiver processor from ARC output into the receiver or processor, this will output Dolby Atmos. If you have this set up on wall mount, you can adjust the EQ of the audio coming out of the projector by selecting this. I have this on a stand, so we're going to keep that off. Advanced settings, we've got balance, volume level, auto volume control, lip sync delay, EQ, which we get 5 different bands from 120 Hz up to 10 kHz, and then auto acoustic tuning. So by hitting the star button and then pairing it with the Bluetooth remote, it'll use the microphone in the remote to automatically tune the speakers. And that's it. So pretty quick. And then the last option under sound is reset all the settings. And then the last section is the audio output. You can choose between the TV speakers, ARC, Bluetooth, or if you have a WiSA compatible speaker system, you can connect up to this projector using WiSA compatible speakers, so you have no wires connected to the projector or an AVR or processor at all. So that's pretty handy if you have compatible speakers. You can turn the TV speakers on and off, or the projector speakers on and off. The digital output, we've got auto, pass-through, PCM, Dolby Audio, Dolby Digital Plus. So if you have this hooked up to an AVR or processor and want to get Dolby Atmos output from the compatible apps in the projector, you're going to want to keep this on pass-through. Since I'm only using the built-in speakers, I'm just going to keep it on auto. And then the last two options are headphone mode and then headphone volume. So if you have headphones connected up to the projector, you would adjust those settings there, but they are grayed out right now. Under game zone, we've got game information, which you can turn on and off. Game zone settings, we got black level, white level controls, and then instant game response. You could choose between auto, on and off. That'll lower latency, so we have better reaction times. HDMI format, if you want to get 4K HDR support, you're going to want to keep this on enhanced. There's parental controls, audio only, a sleep timer, advanced system, and then help. And that's it for the relevant settings to the projector. As for apps, let's jump into some of the more popular ones. Netflix first. We can see that this does support Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. It'll say Dolby Vision in the upper right corner. And if you want to get Dolby Atmos support, you'll have to connect this up to your AVR or processor or soundbar via HDMI ARC. Same thing here for Disney+. It supports both Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos, as you can see in the upper corner. And of course, the YouTube app also supports 4K and HDR content as well. Now, to check out the tone mapping, let's throw in the infamous horses from the Spears and Munsell disc. This first shot is at 600 nits, and it looks really good. We can see there's horses, there's grass and the snow, and you can even make out the mountains in the background. Next shot is at 1000 nits. We start clipping detail in the foreground as well as those mountains in the background. At 2000 nits, it's kinda hard to tell what anything is besides the horses, and at 4000 nits, it looks the same as 2000. And this is with HDR picture mode set to standard and tone mapping is turned on. Now let's move over to the same shot in Dolby Vision. So clearly Dolby Vision looks the best on this demo. You can see everything in the background, the hillside, the trees in the background, all the hoof prints in the snow, the grass, everything is visible in Dolby Vision. Now this is on Dolby Vision Dark. If we switch it over to Dolby Vision Bright, the image and the contrast gets a little bit darker, a little bit more vibrant. So there is actually a little bit more pop, although the blacks do tend to look a little bit too dark to where some of the details near crushing on the horse's hair, whereas it's a little lighter on Dolby Vision Dark. So there seems to be a little bit more detail in Dolby Vision Dark, although this still does look great. And then if we were playing a video game, this is Dolby Vision Game. And then this is Dolby Vision Custom. So for Dolby Vision Custom, if you wanted to, you can adjust the contrast, brightness, color, tint, and sharpness sliders. Also, Dolby Vision Dark has a slightly warmer cast to it. So the horses, you can see that the horses here have a slight brown to them, whereas in Dolby Vision Bright, the horses actually look like they were black instead of a light brown, or instead of a dark brown. So having Dolby Vision on board is a huge feature that I wish more ultra short throw projectors had, because I think this is the best I've ever seen this demo on an ultra short throw before. Now, one trade-off between Dolby Vision and standard HDR10 is that Dolby Vision does look slightly dimmer, but along with that slightly dimmer image, you do get much better shadow detail, much better highlight detail, whereas it's overly bright on standard HDR10, even with dynamic tone mapping turned on. So the highlights are clipped, the shadow detail is more crushed, whereas here in Dolby Vision, everything looks a lot better. Shadow detail, specular highlights, all pop a lot better. And there's definitely more, and there's more detail and contrast in every scene. So you've got to pick between either a really bright, punchy, very vivid picture with a lack of detail, or one that's a little bit more subdued, but with a lot more detail. So I guess you're gonna have to pick your poison on that one. As you can see, the specular highlights and the black detail looks great in Dolby Vision. They're not OLED black or even like mini LED black, so they do skew a little bit on the grayer side. But coming from the previous generation of the Hisense projector, which I reviewed last year, this is a huge improvement from that one. It's not only brighter, but the contrast is much better. The color fidelity looks even more richer and more vibrant, and it doesn't have that dull hue over the entire picture like what I saw on the older version. So if you were coming from the older version and wanted to upgrade, this is a definite improvement.
this thing at me? Shut up. Baby. Who threw this thing at me? Shut up. Baby. Who threw this thing at me? Shut up. Baby. Who threw this thing at me? Shut up. Baby. Who threw this thing at me? Shut up. Baby. Who threw this thing at me? Shut up. Baby.
At the time of this video, the Hisense PL1 is selling for $2,500. Now, when I referenced the older model, I was comparing it to the PX1 Pro from last year. That one has their trichroma laser for dedicated RGB and a wider color gamut, whereas this one is a single laser and doesn't have quite the same color coverage. That being said, I remember the black levels were raised quite a bit on the PX1 Pro, which made the image dull no matter how much you tweak the settings. The PL1, despite being cheaper and having less color fidelity, just instantly looked better right out of the box. So I'm curious to see if the PX2 Pro would be an even bigger upgrade over the PX1 Pro. And also having Dolby Vision capabilities really brings things closer to what you'd get on an LED TV with a little hit in the black levels. Now, the screen I was using was a Stewart film screen that's acoustically transparent with a gain of 0.7. I highly doubt anyone is going to use this type of screen with an ultra short throw, but even with a slightly negative gain, the brightness was more than enough to make HDR material have plenty of pop. It's even brighter with standard HDR10 content. If you put the projector on an actual ALR screen, it'll be even brighter and even be useful with the lights on. Gaming, as you would imagine, isn't going to be like a competition-grade monitor, but after a few minutes you'll get acclimated to its responsiveness and have no problems with gaming controls. And I know, it's kinda hard to tell over the video, but it's a fairly quiet projector, and you'll only notice the fan if you're in a hot environment or it's a really quiet scene in a movie. The speakers were also really loud for such a small projector and even has a pretty decent amount of bass. So if you don't have a full home theater setup, the built-in speakers should do plenty fine for some non-critical listening. Overall, I think this is a great little UST projector that looks better than some triple laser models that I've seen. It's got a sharp lens, it's bright, I didn't notice any rainbow effect, and the black levels were solid too. The only thing that's missing from it that might be an issue for some would be that it doesn't have 3D. What's up with that, Hisense? So those are my thoughts on the Hisense PL1. Have you guys seen it, and how do you think it stacks up to the competition? Leave your comments down below and let me know. Now, if you do want to pick up this projector, I'll leave some links for it down below in this video's description. As always, guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video if you found it useful and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you again in the next video.